Are you having trouble impressing your flight instructor? Well, today I'm going to tell you 3 things that would impress me. So the first thing that you can do to impress your instructor is your homework. Now, depending on what kind of flight school you're going to, if it's a more structured 141 or a less structured 61, the amount of homework and the type of homework that you might be assigned might vary a little bit. Now, that homework can be anything from reading a chapter in a book, to learning a checklist, to just chair flying some maneuvers so that you're prepared for the next lesson. But whenever an instructor goes out of their way to give you homework, we want to see a return on that. We want to see that you've actually taken the time to do that homework, so that it's not so that we don't have to teach you it, but there has to be some foundation laid before we can expand on it a little bit more. And sometimes we just can't explain things as well as an FAA book could. All right, the second thing is going to be, as I mentioned previously, doing your checklist. Now, I don't have to have you memorize your checklist. That's not what I'm looking for here. You may have a checklist with some memory items, but I just want to see you use it. I want to see you know when to pull it out. I want to see that anytime there's an emergency or anything, that's the first place you go to. I don't want you to just pull something out of your hat. I want you to be able to follow these procedures. And I've talked about this in other videos, but it's not because these airplanes are so complicated, but they need checklists. It's to teach you these habits so that when you do step up into a more complicated aircraft, that you can rely on your fundamentals, your checklists, to help you through any situation you might encounter. And the last way that you can impress your instructor is airspeed control. Now, why do I specifically call out airspeed as opposed to anything else? Well, it's bumpy, so your altitude is going to be like this a little bit, and that's okay. And it's just part of getting used to the plane, right? But what I can tell a more seasoned pilot, or a pilot or a student who really has taken everything I've said to heart, is when they can control their airspeed, because that's the easiest thing to let slip away from you, in my opinion. Now, a lot of this is going to be in the pattern, for instance, right? They'll leave the power full for too long, and you got to pull it back to get that airspeed under control so you can start turning base. And then when you start turning base, you get kind of slippery and you speed up, and then you have to pull it back some more, right? And landings, right? Short field, we're going to come in with too much energy. We're going to come in too fast. And all of that has to do with airspeed control. Now, I've had an experience flying, or several experiences flying aircraft without flaps, and man, does that teach you airspeed control, right? And I'm not saying you have to go out and do that kind of stuff in order to be, as good a pilot as I am, right? But just you have to take that into consideration. Do no flap landings, right? Really get a feel for how the aircraft performs in all of the different configurations at all phases of flight, because that energy management, and that can come from altitude or airspeed, but again, in this case, we'll talk about airspeed, that is what is going to get you through just about any situation you can encounter. Well, guys, that wraps up our video today on my top 3 things that you can do to impress your flight instructor. But if we're being honest, it should really be your flight instructor impressing you. We go through a lot of training to make sure that we have the professionalism to give you the best education possible. If you thought we left anything out, leave us a comment down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.